by Billy Joel. My parents wanted a boy. They got me, a girl. That's why they named me Billy Joel. I've always felt like I can't meet those expectations. For the first few years of my life, my family was doing well. After that, not so much. The wind had come. They blew up the topsoil and ruined our crops. This was about the time of the Great Depression. We lost tons of money. This horrible event devastated not only us, but many other families too. All of the banks closed around the country. After a little while, we just got used to the dust. The feeling of grit in your mouth, on your food, in the bed, never left. There's no place that escaped the dust. Eventually, people started giving up, blown away. This included my friend from first grade. Luckily, I had a few bright things in my life. One of these was the piano. I was very good at it, if I must say so myself, and enjoyed playing it. This all changed very quickly. It's not that I grew tired of it, it's that my hands burned bad. Dad had left a pail of kerosene next to the stove. Ma thought it was full of water. When she poured it, she made a rope of fire. Ma went to call for Dad, and I threw the pail out the door. I couldn't have known when I was coming back. So I beat out the flames with my hands, but it didn't help. When I got burned bad, my hands were ruined. Soon after that, Dad went and drank up all our emergency money while Ma moaned for water. I tried to squeeze some into her mouth, but it only hurt my hands a lot. Ma died soon after. At the funeral, they outright blamed me. I always felt like a disappointment, and this didn't help at all, especially since the baby died with her. My brother was born dead. When Ma passed away, Dad and I had taken our share of Ma's work. I had cooked and washed the dishes. During the day, Dad worked outside, building the home. I thought he was digging a pond to feed off the windmill. The one Ma wanted, but he never said then. Everyone thought he was crazy, and so did I, at the time. All this time, he grew distant. Sometimes he couldn't even look at me. He didn't care about the outside world. He just kept digging. While Daddy dug, I went to school. There, Miss Freeland, my teacher, explained to us how the Dust Bowls came to be. Now, I think we all wish we weren't that greedy. During the Great War, we fed everyone. The price of our crops grew so large that we bought more land and dug it up to get more money. When the war finally ended, the price of wheat dropped. In order to pay for our rent and our bills, we had to plow more land. When we did this, we uncovered the water underneath the soil. This dried up the land, making a hostile land for our crops. Nothing would grow anymore. Since nothing was holding onto the land anymore, the fierce winds of the plains carried the topsoil away, and thus the Dust Bowls were created. These created a well of pain, not only my family and I, but also every other farmer in the plains. It was a terrible disaster. We needed to find other sources of money. Because of this, my daddy hired on at Wireless Power to excavate for towers. At least we were gonna get some income. Fortunately, it wasn't nearly enough to cover for our bills, but it made him feel better. A little after this, Ollie, a great piano player, asked if I'd play with the Black Mist Boys. I would like to play with them and Mad Dog and terrific Plowboy singing, but my hands were ruined. Whenever Ollie asked me, not only did my hands hurt, but my soul ached too. Then, I thought that I would never play piano again. After the accident, I always missed her. I always wanted to go to home for her to tell me that there, I knew you could. I missed her especially at the Christmas dinner. I no longer had a mom. No one was there to eat with me. So I just had to have a teacher eat with me. Very sad, very sad. Later, Daddy was thinking going back to night school if the farm failed. Never heard him say something like that. He's always planned on the fact that the farm would survive, that it would thrive. Then he'd start to see that the farm was failing, and the farmers were too. Pete Garman just died of dust pneumonia. Nothing was hanging on to the farmland anymore. Nothing except sorrow and pain and the dust. April came, and with it, a terrible dust storm. It was the worst ever. Later, people called it Black Sunday. The storm had moved all the way to Washington. Only then did they realize the horrible, horrible stuff we were going through. After that terrible storm, our animals had died. At least a lot of them. We had to borrow feed from the government and seed too. Daddy didn't like it, but he had to do it. Soon after that, rain came. Glorious rain coming from the heavens, soaked into the gritty earth and the parched land. Tons of it slammed down to make the ruddy prairie. It was like a sign to all the farmers to get plowing again. It was a miracle. When the rain finally stopped, Daddy cleaned out the tractor for 2 days and nights and went out to the fields, certain that the crops would grow again. A little grass grew again, but it wasn't enough. The dust came again, bringing disappointment to everyone. After that, I couldn't stand it. I had to get out of the dust. I ran away from home. I went to the station. I slipped under the cover of darkness in a boxcar to the west. I spent 2 endless days in the boxcar. After the second day, a man climbed into my car. He was friendly and showed me a picture of his family. I could see the hunger in his eyes, and so I gave him my day's biscuits that I took with me from home. He gratefully took them and wolfed them down, even though they were caked with dust. We both had the same goal, to get out of the dust. On the 4th day in the car, the man was gone. Unfortunately, so were my biscuits. He only left me his picture of the family. I guess it was in trade for the biscuits. To this day, I haven't found his family. I got off the train in Arizona. The lady from the government agency gave me food and water and a phone. I called Mr. Hartley and told him to let my father know that I was coming home. When I finally arrived home, Daddy was waiting for me. I called to him and ran to him. We walked together for the first time since Ma died. On the way home, I told her all of my thoughts, fears, and worries about how I needed a camel parent to grow, how I was scared about the spots in his skin, and how I can't be my own mother. He told me that he would call Doc Rice, how the pond was done, and how we can swim in it and get catfish. Walking home, I forgave him for the pail of kerosene, and forgave myself for everything else. It turns out, the spots on his skin were cancer. Doc cut him out the best he could, but Daddy had to wear bandages over the wounds. I asked him what I could do about my hands, and Doc told me to use them. That then they would heal properly. It turns out, the spots on his skin were cancer. Doc cut him out the best he could, but Daddy had to wear bandages over the wounds. I asked him what I could do about my hands, and Doc told me to use them. That then they would heal properly. A little while later, a woman came to dinner to bring food. Her name was Louise. She'd stayed with Daddy when I was gone. I could tell that they liked each other, and I liked her too. When she came, life seemed to bloom. The weeds started growing, Daddy started smiling, and we were all happy. I also started playing piano. This was very important to me. Playing smoothly again did wonders to my soul. The dust didn't stop, but at least the wheat was growing. I thought that Louise was the perfect mom. She was understanding, made Daddy and I smile. She could cook, and she did her share of the work around the house. It wasn't long before they were married. I won't say we lived happily ever after, but things turned out okay. Now that I've told you my past, I'll tell you my present. Not too long ago, Daddy died of his cancer. Turned out that he did get help too late. Luis and I are still mourning his passing, but we've moved on. We had a happy family for a long time. And Dad got the son he always wanted. They named him David, and he's grown now. Luis and David are still at the farm, but Mad Dog and I moved to the city. We've been married for 23 years now, after he proposed to me after we finished a show together. Now we perform our own show together at a theater. We aren't famous, but we're pretty popular. Enough to support ourselves, David, Luis, and more. We live in an apartment and send money to Luis and David whenever they need it. David might move to the city soon, though. Luis has had trouble moving around lately, and we're afraid for our health. We don't have any pets, since Mad Dog is allergic to dogs. Strange, don't you think? Anyway, we're thinking of getting our own house since we've gained enough money since the Great Depression. Now, I think I can say that Mad Dog and I are well off, and that our story gets as close to a happy ending as it can get. We're living the dream.